Well, thanks everyone for having me. I am an outreach specialist at the Washington State Department of Agriculture. Basically, my job is to inform the public about what's going on and how they can help. So I will go ahead and talk about some of these things on this screen. Before though, pretty much everybody knows what the Department of Ag is. You know, it works to regulate, advocate, and provide services for our state's agricultural industry. And within that, there is the pest program, and that's the group of dedicated individuals that I work with. And we work to also protect not just our fields, but our landscapes and everything around us from invasive species and living organisms that could cause us some harm. So we do more. You'll find entomologists who do lots of fieldwork collection and identification. You'll find scientists who take plant samples and bring them back to the labs and to perform diagnostics. We do lots of field work. We reach out into the communities to provide educational opportunities. Then, of course, you know, there's the backbreaking labor. We do lots of innovative research and new studies. And then we also have eradication coordinators who work to find new ways to keep invasives from coming in. So when we get into eradication, right, that's probably more where you hear and see us in the news. And one of our longstanding eradication programs I'd like to highlight for you is spongy moth, right? We're actually in the 50th year of working to keep spongy moth out. You might have heard of spongy moth before as gypsy moth. It's the same thing, but the name has since changed. So this kind of just showcases the dedication and hard work that USDA does. So you see a couple pictures here of spongy moth. It's a program of trapping. It's a program of potential eradication and treatments. The reason for that being is it has some caterpillars. Now, one adult moth can lay up to 1,000 eggs, which will then hatch into caterpillars. And when these come out, they will be in trees, they'll be on the ground, they'll be in your hair, they will be everywhere. And at the same time, these caterpillars leaf out or come out is the same time our leaves are leaving out. Right? So springtime, you'd walk outside, you'd see nice green leaves. Well, it would look like the dead of winter. They quickly grow from very small to much larger, and they are capable of eating a lot, right? So this is the reason that we don't want spongy moth in our backyard, because of the severe defoliation that can occur. So here's a picture of the East Coast where you can see this forest has been defoliated by spongy moth. And here's another picture. So it's pretty easy to understand that here in Washington, we have lots of forests and we have lots of areas to protect. So continually working to keep spongy moth out is of high interest to us. So if you want to learn about the spongy moth, I consider you contact me, get a hold of me, we can chat, or visit our website. It's a great resource and tool for you to learn more about the moth and more about what we do. Due to time constraints, I won't go into it too much, but you can also sign up to receive emails as a stakeholder, or you can join our Facebook group to stay up to date. This year in Washington, we placed over 20,000 traps. That's actually something that we do each year. We place traps to monitor for spongy moths that could be coming us from the East Coast of the United States where they're established, or potential moths that could be coming from overseas. This year, unfortunately, we caught over 100 spongy moths in 13 different places, and we've identified 2 places that could have potential populations that are in the early stages of establishing. So we're proposing eradication there. So again, sign up to stay connected and see what happens. But again, that's a long-standing one of our eradication programs. So when I tell you about eradication, y'all tend to look at me like I'm crazy. There's a new pest that's came over, a new bug, and we want to get rid of it. We've done it once with citrus longhorn beetle. I just showed you spongy moth, and hopefully northern giant hornet is next up. Right, so eradication isn't always crazy. It just requires lots of effort, sometimes year after year work, and people working together. There's a current eradication program going on about Japanese beetle. You will want to look for this in the summer between May and October. It's a green metallic beetle with copper wing covers, about the size of your pinky nail. People think it looks similar to a those red and black spotted things, but it's a different color. They love to eat flowers. They will eat the buds of them, but they pretty much skeletonize leaves and vegetation. So anything green and leafy, Japanese beetle will eat. It doesn't discriminate, and it feeds on over 300 different types of plants. So here in our landscape, here's a couple things that it could affect. And when it's not this adult beetle, right, when it's not this adult form, it's actually living under the ground as a grub or a larva. It's a white C-shaped grub about 1/8 of an inch to an inch long, and we'll find it in the soil because it likes to eat grass roots. This is pretty much what it'll eat as this form. You see this picture of this grass. It should be bright green, super luscious. It's been watered, it's been fertilized. Nothing's wrong with it except for those larvae have been in there eating the roots, so we have yellow patches. In extreme cases, it'll peel up like dead carpet. When you have all those yummy grubs, you invite other rodents and critters to come in and pull this up further. So it becomes bad for all the agricultural industry that we have in Washington state, but also ruins your backyard, your parks, your churches, your schools, and even your golf courses. Now that we know that the grub lives in the soil, if we move soil at any time of year, we can move Japanese beetle. If we have beetles out in the summer, we trim trees, we clip our lawns, we can move beetles. So it's a great hitchhiker, right? This also was the same for potted plants. If I move my potted plant, I could be moving Japanese beetle. So here's your map. You see areas of purple, areas of green. Purple is where a Japanese beetle is living and established. Green is states that look for beetles and don't have it. Any colors where maybe one or two have been found and they're actively working to remove it. We have been working to find Japanese beetle in Washington since the 90s. We've been surveying, placing traps to make sure that we don't have it. Now that we found Japanese beetle recently, we're working on a multi-year eradication, and this involves us trapping for the beetles, treating for the beetles, and also imposing a quarantine. Trapping for the beetles is the first step to see if you do not have the beetles or if you have the beetles. So here's a map here. Areas of black are going to be where we placed traps and they did not catch beetles. Areas of yellow are where we placed traps that did. You can see one up in King County, that's at the airport. That's sometimes typical. A beetle will be found, caught in a trap, the airport will treat, and we won't have a problem. However, if you look in towards Yakima, Benton, and Franklin counties, we have caught multiple beetles there. Here's a zoom in for you. This top of the left corner is Yakima. You drive down I-82 to the Tri-Cities. We have about 1,100 in Wapato, 18,400 in Grandview, Mabton, Sunnyside, and then 5 in Pasco. This center population here has gone down in numbers. It started about 25,000. However, our outliers are expanding. If you want to learn more about the Japanese beetle program, I encourage you to go to our website. If you ever happen to see a Japanese beetle, I do ask that you report it by taking a picture. Then you can email that picture or you can go online to report it. That will help us find the beetles that we may miss in our traps. People, as we know, are usually first detectors. This next one I'm going to share with you is not in Washington yet, but it is on our radar, spotted lanternfly. It is a plant hopper. We will call it Lycorma delicatula, and it's in the Flagellaridae family. There, you see the lanternflies on the outside ring here. There's about 700 in the world, only about 17 in North America, and they look different than this. It is native to Asia from China, Bangladesh, and Vietnam. When it was introduced into South Korea, it really wrecked their grapes and peaches. Popped up in Pennsylvania. Scientists got to work saying, where could it spread to? By looking at this map, you see Washington is highlighted, so we know it could live here. So we need to be aware and on the lookout for it. They found it in 2014. The Game and Parks Commission was actually out. They saw lots of weird dieback on a tree, an unusual looking insect, and lots of mold. So this was how they determined it to be spotted lanternfly, turned it over to the Department Ag. Since then, we have learned that it will feed on over 65 different types of plants. You want to think hardwoods, ornamentals, fruit, trees, and vines. And when you look at it, you'll see lots of pretty pictures, but this is typically what it's going to look like outside. It's about the size of your thumb, 1 inch long, 1/2 inch wide. You'll find it in kind of late July into the fall, and it uses that mouthpiece to pierce into the stems of plants and vines and trees. So literally all their job to do is pierce and suck and pierce and suck and pierce and suck. So if you watch this one lanternfly here, after you suck a lot of stuff up, you get full and you have to release it. So you will see it start to produce all of that honeydew there. Now, one little lanternfly is going to make quite a mess. You multiply all them that on this vine. You can even see this leaf at the bottom middle here that is completely wet. What happens is that the tree's leaf, vegetation, fruit, whatever, it gets covered in that honeydew, which then turns into black sooty mold, and you have a disaster. So it's going to be really bad for agriculture because that time of year is when harvest is coming. It's going to be really gross for your backyard. And it's just going to be, these masses will cover things. I just showed you 2 pictures and videos of them leaving their host plant and swarming to something that we tend to care more about. But most of its lifetime, this is actually what it'll live on. And this is tree of heaven. It's a class C noxious weed. It'll grow as little bushes. It'll grow as big shade trees. It's allelopathic. So typically it'll be the only thing growing there. And it's hard to get rid of. You can learn how to spot this and learn more about it. But if you do see tree of heaven, I ask that you report it. You can take a picture and upload it to the WA Invasives app. We all share the mapping. If spotted lanternfly lives on tree of heaven most of its time, we can prepare for it by knowing where tree of heaven is, right? You can find other resources at stopslf.org. They have a yearly summit. They just hosted the 2024, so videos will be available for you to view. Same thing, if you ever happen to see spotted lanternfly, please take pictures. You can upload those to the app. You can send them to our email or go online. The last couple minutes here, I want to give you an update on northern giant hornet, another one of our priorities. Northern giant hornet was discovered in 2019. A resident of Blaine found a dead hornet outside on his porch. So again, those public reports are crucial, as well as they have been to this program. Murder hornet, the term came to us in the news. We use the term Asian giant hornet, but since then has been changed. Murder hornet, not because it murders people, but because it attacks honeybees, and it specializes in wiping out those bee boxes in about 90 minutes. It will chop the heads off all the adults and then harvest the brood and the pupae. You only need a couple hornets to do it. To identify a northern giant hornet, the first thing you want to do is look at its head. It's big and wide. It's about as big and as wide as its body, and look for the lateral striping on its abdomen. One of the most things that's commonly misreported, biggest in size comparison, is a cicada killer, especially of those of you in Eastern Washington. You can see it's about that size, but you notice the difference in the head and the striping. Its body's also red. These are prime side-by-side examples, but the best thing to do is take a picture and send it our way. The hornets, here's a couple pictures of their nests. The nests we found in Washington have been all inside tree cavities of alder snags. However, they can actually be in the ground. Hornets don't have any predators. They just want to eat us. So they're typically non-aggressive, but they do get protective over their home. Here you can see their entrance that they were using to go into the tree and build their nest. Hornets will grow to their full adult size before they emerge from the nest, so there's never any such thing as a northern giant hornet. We're going to start looking for these hornets in July. That's about the time where there's enough workers out and about for us to be able to see them. The workers are going out there finding food. They will typically grab individual insects, rip their legs and wings off, mash them up into balls, and then take them back to feed their young, where they're working to help build the colony. Our goal, again, is eradication, so complete removal. We don't want them here. We are going to focus on that northwest corner of Washington, Whatcom County up there for you. That's where we found them. I zoom into the northwest corner of Whatcom County even more. Here's a map for you. The black line is going to be Canada, north and south about 30 minutes, east and west about 30 minutes. This is going to be the town of Blaine, and at the very bottom, if we were to continue the map, would be Bellingham. Red stars are going to be nests, dots are going to be individual sightings. So we have removed 4 nests. We start off with trapping. Actually, anyone in the state of Washington can trap. You need a clear plastic bottle, orange juice, and rice cooking wine. You hang it about 6 feet up into a tree. There's some slots in the top as the hornet flies by, smells the scent of that bait, and gets lured in. Map to my right is all the people in Washington that help us trap. I work with cooperators. So if you are an agency, an organization, or whatever, you can contact me and I will get these materials to you so that you can place traps to protect your communities and your backyards. Once we've captured northern giant hornets, we're actually going to use them to help us lead us back to the nest. Remember, those nests are in the ground. We can't see them, or potentially inside trees. We attached a radio tag to it. I mentioned innovative research. This is the first time something this small had been used on an insect. Then we let it warm up. We feed it some jam and let it go. We'll use the process of telemetry to track it, basically listening to some sound or feedback until we get close enough that we can see the evidence of the hornets coming and going. Once we find the nest, our goal is to eradicate or remove it. So we will put on our fancy suits to keep us safe from their stings, stuck in a modified vacuum, and suck the hornets out. Then we will cut the tree down, remove the nest, freeze everything so that no specimens are going forward. Anything that we can, we will use for research, but our goal is to first remove them and protect our state. There is long ongoing research going on overseas. We're partnering with scientists. We've actually been over there twice to learn more about the hornets so that we are better equipped to fight them here in Washington. Again, if you want to learn anything, go online to our website. Most importantly, if you ever think to see a hornet, take a picture. You can report that online to our email or go online to our website. And that's it.